Good morning. Is it audible? सुनाई दे रहा है? Mr. Devbrata and Miss Rasmi, can you hear me? Yes or no? Yes. So, we will try to start our lecture today because we have already waited almost 10 to 5 minutes. Okay. So, before going to the details of today's block 2, तो हम लोग पहले लास्ट क्लास में क्या डिस्कस किया था वो थोड़ा हम लोग को करना चाहिए, राइट? सो वी हैव टू जस्ट रिवाइज अगेन सो दैट we will able to start this block more efficiently. Okay, तो लास्ट क्लास में हम लोगों ने क्या मीन्स व्हाट आई हैव टॉट यू ऑल लास्ट क्लास में बेसिकली ऑन सोशल ग्रुप्स एंड सर्टिफिकेशंस, राइट? तो हम लोगों ने लास्ट क्लास में पढ़ा था कि व्हाट इज ग्रुप्स, व्हाट इज सर्टिफिकेशंस, व्हाट इज द टाइप्स ऑफ ग्रुप्स एंड व्हाट आर द वेरियस फॉर्म्स ऑफ सर्टिफिकेशंस। वो सब हम लोग ने ऑलरेडी लास्ट क्लास में we have already learned, right? So we talked about the social group, what is primary, what is secondary group, what is reference group in unit 2, and what is in group and out group in unit 3, and in unit 2 and unit 3 we have learned about social certification and few cases, right? So I hope that is all clear with you all. If you all are clear, then I will start with the block 2 units. Okay, so this is the PPT which have been shared with you in the last class. I hope it is clear with you all. वो ब्लॉग 1 जो मैंने पढ़ाया था वो सभी को पीपीटी मिला है ना, मिस रश्मि एंड मिस्टर देवब्रता? All right. Okay, so today we will be starting the block 2. Okay, so the content and that is the objectives and the outcomes. Okay, so basically unit 6 जो है villages, cities, rural urban linkage, unit 8 जो है Dalits, women and minorities, unit 9 norms and values, unit 10 tribes. Okay, basically these are the units which are there in the block 2. Okay, so ब्लॉक 2 का ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या है और इसका ब्लॉक 2 का आउटकम्स क्या है वो भी हम लोग को मालूम होने के लिए बहुत जरूरत है, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, बिकॉज to proceed with those units you need to understand what these blocks actually talks about, then only you will have to proceed towards the units, so it will make you easier to understand what is all about the blocks units. Okay, so firstly to understand the key characteristics and dimensions of villages and cities in India, to identify the major features, forms of rural-urban linkage, to explain the social conditions, challenges, and constitutional measures related to Dalits, women, and minorities. Okay, and to understand the meaning, nature, and the types of social norms and values. Right. So all these objectives we will be touching today. Okay, and lastly to examine the concepts, features, and policy measures concerning tribal communities in India. Okay, so these tribal communities, tribal studies has been very much taken up initiative after the post-colonial periods. Okay, yes, welcome Papan Poddar. All right. So, Mr. Papan, we were just going through the objectives, and I have earlier discussed what we have discussed in the last lecture. That means the last Saturday. Okay. So, what will be the outcome of these blocks? Okay. So, by end of these blocks, learners will be able to describe the main characteristics, dimension, and differences between village and cities' social life. Identify the key factors that create and sustain rural-urban linkage in socio economy and cultural spheres. Okay, so you will also able to explain the issue faced by Dalits, women, and minorities, along with measure constitutional safeguards and welfare measures. Okay, you will also able to discuss the concept and features of tribal communities and interpret the state measures taken for their protection and development. Okay, so coming to unit 6, village and cities. What are the characteristics of village? Okay, so village जो है गांव है जो वो है एक ऑटोनॉमी बॉडी. ओके, सो जहां पे एक विलेज में एक फैमिली होता है, एक जो सिस्टम होता है, जैसे कि पहले जो ट्रेडिशनल में हम लोग का जो गांव में है वो जजमेंट सिस्टम, लैंडलॉर्ड सिस्टम वो सब है. ओके, सो before going all the details, before going all the systems, we have to understand what is village social structures. Okay, so two types you can basically find in the village social structure. That is nuclear families, joint or extended families. So nuclear families, it is mostly found in the contemporary societies, and in terms of extended families or joint families, it is found basically in the traditional or the earlier societies. Okay, so changes in village power structure and leadership. What are the changes and the power structure of leadership in the village system? So basically land reforms, panchayati raj, parliamentary politics, developmental initiatives, and agrarian movements. So these are the changes in village power structure and leaderships. Okay, so special pattern of urbanizations. So when you understand the village and cities, you have to understand the family structures and the landlords ownership systems or the developmental activities that has been taking place in the village areas. Okay, however, understanding all these aspects, also you have to understand the special patterns of urbanizations. Okay, over urbanization and suburban urbanizations. So when you understand about the villages, you know that how these villages has taken shapes because of the urbanizations and the suburbanizations. Okay, so urbanization over urbanizations जो है ये है the once the population surpasses certain optimal levels, the municipal government encounters challenges in providing enough facilities. Like Mumbai, Calcutta are prime examples of cities that are experiencing urban population development that exceeds their capacity to effectively manage. Okay, so basically we are talking here over urbanizations is about the cities. Okay, so over urbanization in cities is more or less there are certain level of population numbers which are given under the urbanizations, but once if it is unable to manage and if it is becoming too much population, then it is regarded as the over urbanizations. Okay, so what about the suburbanizations? Population overcrowding in communities leads to the phenomenon of suburbanizations. Delhi is a prime illustrations of the suburbanizations tendency occurring in its surrounding areas, along with other similar cases. Suburbanizations refers to the process of urbanizing rural areas Surrounding towns, it is characterized by three main features. Okay, a significant rise in the non-agriculture land use, the incorporations of surrounding areas with towns' administrative boundaries. So, suburbanizations is basically the major areas where there are very less, where there are no agricultural land areas. Okay, but basically fill up with the numbers of surroundings with all the towns administrative boundaries. Okay, so basically these are the special patterns of urbanizations. Okay, so all these urbanizations, our urbanizations and suburbanizations comes under the category of the cities. Okay, so unit 7, what is rural urban linkage? So you all know that, very familiar with what is rural and what is urban, right? So urban is basically the municipal corporate areas where the development or the populations or the um, advanced growth of various institutions takes place. Like in urban areas, you have various institutions like universities, colleges, you have uh, developmental buildings, developmental factories, industries. So these are more or less the urbanizations, okay, or the urban, so-called urban that we call it, okay. So rural is obviously basically the territorial area where there are less development taking place. The roads in terms of condition of roads, condition of housing, condition of way of life, conditions of opportunity in terms of occupations, employability is quite less. So in that case, you call that particular area or particular demarcations as the rural areas. So here we are going to discuss about the rural urban linkage. Okay, so first of all, after understanding what is rural and what is urban, you have to understand the factors in rural urban linkage. What are the factors? So as I've already said, that in terms of urban, there are more numbers of education, more numbers of industry, more numbers of factories, which led to the migrations of labor market, labor workers, transportations, education, administration institutions, markets, developmental projects, and kinship, etc. So factors of rural urban kinship is basically firstly the migration of the labors because of the opportunity, and secondly the transportation availability, education, another important factors of rural linkage, market, developmental projects. So these are very important aspects which led to the linkage of urban and rural. Migration and rural urban linkage. So you can see out migrations, in migrations that takes place in that particular place or urban areas where the opportunity or the job employability is more high. Like you will see the more out migrations going to Mumbai, going to Bangalore, going to Chennai or some of the metropolitan cities, because there are n numbers of opportunities, and all these migrations are basically taking place because of the market labor, right? Because of the labor opportunity there. Or maybe some going for the work in the industries, some factories, and very rare in terms of the institutions. But we can say more or less it's the labor market which takes place, the factors of migrations. So you have to understand what is migration and what is the factors in migrations. So migration, as you all know, that it's an aspects of going from one place to another place, maybe in terms of shelters or in terms of jobs or in terms of occupations. So there are major impacts of these migrations. Because of migrations, their impact of population growth, impact in scarcity of opportunity by the uh, local uh, residents, right? So, however, this is a continuous process, and there is always a pros and cons in terms of any social processes. Unit 8 is about, we are going to discuss about the Dalits, women, and minorities. Since our block is about structure of Indian society, we are going to understand step by step to understand how Indian society is really constructed and how in a contemporary period it is going on. Okay, so Dalits. So you should know what is Dalits, what is and who are the minorities and the women, right? To understand these units. So Dalits actually it was a term used by our father of the nation Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, or we call it Mahatma Gandhi. The term Dalits originated from Sanskrit and refers to individuals who are marginalized, oppressed, and socially disadvantaged. The term is currently employed to designate the untouchables or the horizons as referred to the Constitution of India as a scheduled caste. Within this unit, we shall refer to them as Dalits. Okay, so these Dalits is actually, uh, the the marginal people sections, the lower strata of the caste society. They are so these Dalits are even the lowest caste groups, which Mahatma Gandhi termed them as Dalits. In the constitutions, you have these categorizations of scheduled caste. Okay, so earlier scheduled castes were termed as the Dalits, which was the term used by our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so Article 14 confirmed the idea of equality before the law. Discrimination based on religion, race, caste, and place of birth is prohibited in Article 15. First, Article 17 explicitly forbids the act of untouchability in all its manifestations. Further, certain legislative initiatives have been implemented. The Untouchability Offence Act was initially established in 1955 but was replaced by the Protection of Civil Rights Act in 1976. So, the word like untouchables, the word like Dalits was now less used, where the term scheduled caste was most used in terms of categorizations. Like ST, scheduled tribes, the scheduled caste is also as categorizations used towards certain groups of people. Okay, so this unit 8 is basically discussing about the minorities. It's supposed to be in terms of religions like Christian, Muslims, Buddhism. They are mostly the minorities religion. Okay, and you have the minorities communities also again. Okay, and the women who were regarded to be marginalized in terms of employability, in terms of job sector, in terms of business, in terms of all aspects of lives. So in Indian, all these contexts like Dalits, understanding women problems, understanding minorities problems are all parts of the social structure in Indian society. So Dalits we have understood. So what are the major protections to abide by the articles and to protect against the violations of women in India? Okay, Article 14, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2025. Article 15.3, Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention and Prohibitions and Readjustment Act 2013. Maternity Benefits Act, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Pradhan Mantri Matro Vandana Yojana, National Mission for Empowerment of Women, One Stop Center, and Mahila Police Station. So all these are the various safety guards and measures. Why? To develop the uh, women's from all this marginality, from all these harassment, from all these violence. Okay, so all these articles are has been established in Indian Constitution to safeguard and measures the women protections. So coming to the unit 9, minorities and values, let's understand like what is norms and what is values. So similarly in all other parts of the world, norms and values plays a significant role in individual practice and individual learnings, right? So what is norms? Norms are societal rules or expectation that guides behavior within a group or society. Whereas values are beliefs or principles that individual society deem important, desirable, and worth pursuing. Okay, so norms are actually like they are more or less like similar, but norms is more or less the ascribed traditional folkways or customary norms. Okay, like in the village section, you have now till now the Chaudhry. So they follow the system of that Chaudhry, right? So in parts of Chaudhry also there are certain works designated which you see in the Indian workplace, like in terms of Nagar Panchayat, in terms of Panchayat, you see various norms are there. But you know, with the evolution of changes, with the evolution of modernization, urbanization, with the changes of evolving, all these norms are being practiced, but in a very means it has been becoming lesser and lesser. Okay, or some norms have been replaced by the new norms, which guides human behavior in practicing certain activity. Okay, but values, you know, values are the certain principle, certain beliefs that individuals are tend to follow, and it is more or less followed by the individuals or the social actionists. So it is very important to understand what is norms and what is values. What are types of norms? Social norms, example include norms related to greetings, personal space, gestures, dress, codes. Legal norms are laws, statutes, ordinance, regulations that prescribe permissible and prohibited conduct. Moral norms. Okay, so all these are norms. You may just go through all these write up in your PPTs, because we have already shared all these materials to you. Okay, so what are types of values? So material values, values like wealth, success, and material positions. Like for example, any rich class or any successful person are regarded to be valued more than the so-called lower caste or the unsuccessful persons. So there are various rules. So like social values, relationship, community, social justice, inclusive, diversity, equality, humanity rights, guiding attitudes and behavior. So these are all social values. Okay. So what are the moral values? Moral values is like how to be honest, how to be punctual, how to be integrated, how to conduct an ethical conduct in personal and social interactions. And aesthetic values, you have aesthetic values emphasize appreciations for beauty, creativity, and artistic expressions in various forms. So these are the types of values. Okay. So coming to the last units of today's lecture is tribes. So like scheduled caste or like other backward caste, you have the tribes, which in the constitution is the scheduled tribes. Okay. So there are many tribal groups in India. There are more than 400 tribes, as Barjines Kaka has stated in his article. Okay, so based on the 1991 census data, India has a population of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes 573. Okay, so which account of 16 and 8% of the total population respectively. Article 19 bracket 5 refers to the restriction imposed by legislation on the fundamental rights of all people to fairly move, settle, and acquire property in order to protect the interest of any scheduled tribes. So, to understand scheduled tribes, we will have to understand the articles which are being implemented for the benefits or for the upliftment of the tribal groups in India. Okay, so Article 164 and 338, along with the fifth schedule, provides legal authorization for the establishment of tribes advisory council and an independent department within the states. Article 244, along with the fifth and sixth schedule, provides specific provisions for the governments and regulations of designated indigenous regions. So, as you have seen that in Northeast, basically, various autonomous district councils were provided to the tribal groups. Why? Because to protect their culture, to protect their way of lifestyle, to protect their aesthetic values and norms, customs. So, in terms of schedule like fifth and sixth schedule, all these protection rights were included by the government of India. The indigenous population in India constitute 8% of the overall demographic. The 1991 data shows the proportion of tribal population in several states as follows: Andhra Pradesh 6%, Assam 13%, Bihar 8%, Gujarat 16%, Odisha 22%, Rajasthan 12%, and West Bengal 6%. Okay, so these are the complete units of block 2. Okay, so all these blocks were discussed in details. If you have any queries, if you have anything to ask about village and cities, linkage, Dalit women and minorities, norms and values and tribes, you are open for discussions. Okay, so anything you want to ask, any queries about the block 2, anything? So I hope everyone has understood, has understood the class, understood this block and the last block 1. So block 1 and block 2 is over. You please go through these questions and answers, so that next class we will able to discuss, analyze all these blocks again. Okay, I will not repeat again in a very extensive way, but I will go very brief detail, okay, about the block 2. But you need to read all these PPTs, all these SLMs, so that in the next lecture we will able to discuss more easily, and you will able to also connect with the block 3. Okay, so that's it for today. So we'll keep in touch in the next class. See you all in the next Saturday. I hope that this class was useful, and this next class will be taken by another sir, okay, from the sociology program. So that is from today. See you all in the next classes. Bye for today.